You think you know Gemini, the witty one, the social butterfly, the intelligent conversationalist, but you've never seen them in their darkest moments. When the light goes out in a Gemini, it doesn't just dim, it vanishes. And if you're in their life when it happens, you need to understand what you're dealing with. Because Gemini's dark side isn't like other signs. It's not loud rage. It's not dramatic breakdowns. It's something far more unsettling. It's complete withdrawal, emotional shutdown, the disappearing act. And if you don't know how to navigate it, you'll lose them, or lose yourself trying to save them. This is your survival guide for Gemini's darkest moments. The psychology they won't explain, the patterns you need to recognize, and the only strategies that actually work. Let's break it down. First, you need to understand what Gemini's darkest moments actually look like, because they don't look like darkness to most people. Here's what happens. They go silent. The person who always had something to say suddenly has nothing. No jokes, no commentary, no rapid-fire texts, just silence. They disappear, not physically, always, but emotionally. They're there, but they're not there. You're talking to a shell. They stop engaging. Conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel like pulling teeth. One-word answers, delayed responses, zero energy. They intellectualize everything. If you try to ask what's wrong, they analyze it clinically. I'm just tired. It's probably stress. I'll be fine. But they don't feel it. They study it. They isolate aggressively. They cancel plans. They ghost group chats. They retreat into their room, their mind, their private world, and they lock the door behind them. And here's what makes it so hard. They won't tell you what's happening. Gemini in their darkest moments doesn't reach out, doesn't explain, doesn't ask for help. They just vanish into themselves. And you're left standing outside, confused, hurt, wondering if you did something wrong. You didn't. This isn't about you. This is about what happens when Gemini's mind turns against them. So why does this happen? What triggers Gemini's darkest moments? It's mental exhaustion. Gemini's brain is always on, processing, analyzing, connecting dots, having multiple internal conversations simultaneously. This works fine until it doesn't. And when Gemini's mind reaches overload, they don't just get tired, they crash. Here's what causes the crash. 1. Information overload. They've absorbed too much, too many conversations, too many perspectives, too many problems that aren't even theirs. Their mental hard drive is full, and they can't process anymore. 2. Emotional overstimulation. Gemini feels everything but intellectualizes it to cope. Eventually, the gap between what they feel and what they express becomes unbearable. The pressure builds until they shut down entirely. 3. Loss of meaning. Gemini needs mental stimulation to function. When life becomes repetitive, predictable, or meaningless, they sink into existential despair. Not because life is bad, but because it's boring. And for Gemini, boredom's a slow death. 4. Betrayal or deception. When someone lies to them, manipulates them, or proves untrustworthy, Gemini doesn't just get hurt. They lose faith in their ability to read people. And if they can't trust their own perception, their entire reality destabilizes. 5. Isolation without choice. Gemini needs alone time, but on their terms. When circumstances force isolation, lockdowns, breakups, life changes, they feel trapped. And trapped Gemini is dangerous Gemini to themselves. When these triggers stack up, Gemini doesn't explode, they implode. The light goes out, the voice stops. The person you knew becomes a ghost. Now let's talk about what Gemini actually does during their darkest moments. Because understanding the patterns helps you know what you're dealing with. Pattern 1. The ghosting phase. They disappear without explanation. They don't answer texts. They don't show up. They're physically present, but emotionally gone. This isn't cruelty, it's survival mode. They're protecting their mental space from any more input. Pattern 2. The Intellectualization Spiral. They analyze their pain instead of feeling it. I think I'm experiencing depressive symptoms. This is probably just burnout. They turn their suffering into a case study. It's their way of creating distance from emotions they can't handle. Pattern 3. The Self-Destruction Impulse. Some Geminis go dark by burning things down. They quit jobs impulsively, end relationships suddenly, delete social media, move cities. Not because they want to, but because they need to feel something change. Destruction feels like control. Pattern 4. The Cynicism Defense. They get bitter, sarcastic, nihilistic. Everything becomes a joke, but the jokes aren't funny anymore. They're sharp, cutting, mean. This is Gemini's armor. If they mock everything, nothing can hurt them. Pattern 5. The Overstimulation Escape. Instead of retreating, some Geminis go the opposite direction. They party too hard, work obsessively, binge watch, scroll endlessly. Anything to drown out the silence in their mind. They're running from themselves and losing. Pattern 6. The silent suffering. The worst one. They smile. They function. They show up. But inside, they're drowning. And no one knows because Gemini is too good at performing normalcy. This is when they're most at risk because they're suffering invisibly. Here's the scariest part. Gemini won't ask for help. They're too proud, too independent, too convinced that talking about it makes it real. So they suffer alone, hoping they'll think their way out of it. And sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. Now let's talk about what Gemini actually does during their darkest moments. Because understanding the patterns helps you know what you're dealing with. Pattern 1. The ghosting phase. They disappear without explanation. They don't answer texts. They don't show up. They're physically present, but emotionally gone. This isn't cruelty, it's survival mode. They're protecting their mental space from any more input. Pattern 2. The Intellectualization Spiral. They analyze their pain instead of feeling it. I think I'm experiencing depressive symptoms. This is probably just burnout. They turn their suffering into a case study. It's their way of creating distance from emotions they can't handle. Pattern 3. The Self-Destruction Impulse. Some Geminis go dark by burning things down. They quit jobs impulsively, end relationships suddenly, delete social media, move cities. Not because they want to, but because they need to feel something change. Destruction feels like control. Pattern 4. The Cynicism Defense. They get bitter, sarcastic, nihilistic. Everything becomes a joke, but the jokes aren't funny anymore. They're sharp, cutting, mean. This is Gemini's armor. If they mock everything, nothing can hurt them. Pattern 5. The Overstimulation Escape. Instead of retreating, some Geminis go the opposite direction. They party too hard, work obsessively, binge watch, scroll endlessly. Anything to drown out the silence in their mind. They're running from themselves and losing. Pattern 6. The silent suffering. The worst one. They smile. They function. They show up. But inside, they're drowning. And no one knows because Gemini is too good at performing normalcy. This is when they're most at risk because they're suffering invisibly. Here's the scariest part. Gemini won't ask for help. They're too proud, too independent, too convinced that talking about it makes it real. So they suffer alone, hoping they'll think their way out of it. And sometimes they do, but sometimes they don't. So how do you survive a Gemini's darkest moments without losing them or yourself? Here's the survival guide. Rule 1. Don't take the silence personally. When Gemini goes dark and stops talking to you, it's not about you. They're not punishing you. They're not mad at you. They're drowning, and they can't hold anyone else's weight right now. Give them space without assuming rejection. Rule 2. Check in without demanding. Don't ask what's wrong. Don't demand explanations. Instead, send low-pressure check-ins. Thinking of you. Here if you need anything. No rush to respond. Let them know you're there without requiring them to be anything. Rule 3. Respect their process. Gemini needs to think their way through darkness. That might look weird to you. They might analyze instead of feel. They might intellectualize instead of cry. Don't tell them they're doing it wrong. This is how they survive. Rule 4. Don't try to fix them. You cannot logic them out of their darkness. You cannot inspire them back to light. You cannot love them into healing. Stop trying to fix them. They don't need fixing. They need time and space to recalibrate. Rule 5. Recognize when they're dangerous to themselves. If you see signs of serious harm, talk of suicide, reckless behavior, complete detachment from reality, you need to intervene. Not with judgment, but with direct, honest concern. I'm worried about you. I think you need help. I'm here to support that. Rule 6. Offer distraction, not depth. When Gemini is dark, deep emotional conversations make it worse. They don't want to talk about their feelings. Offer light distractions instead. Send a funny meme. Share an interesting article. Ask their opinion on something random. Give their mind something else to latch on to. Something that doesn't require emotional labor. Rule 7. Accept the disappearing act. Sometimes Gemini needs to disappear completely to come back. If they ghost you for days, weeks, even months, it doesn't mean they don't care. It means they're fighting a battle you can't see. When they resurface, don't punish them for leaving. Welcome them back. Rule 8. Set your own boundaries. You cannot pour endlessly into a black hole. If Gemini's darkness is draining you, consuming you, destroying your peace, step back. You're not abandoning them. You're saving yourself. And sometimes that's the only healthy choice. Rule 9. Know when it's over. If Gemini's dark patterns become abusive, if they weaponize their pain, punish you with silence, manipulate your concern, you need to leave. Darkness is not an excuse for cruelty. You can be compassionate without being a victim. Rule 10. Trust they'll come back. Most of the time, Gemini does come back. The light returns. The voice comes back online. The person you knew resurfaces. It might take days. It might take months. But Gemini's darkness is usually a phase, not a permanent state. Trust the process even when you can't see the end. Here is what Gemini actually needs during their darkest moments, but will never tell you. They need you to stay without smothering. Be present, but don't crowd. Your steady existence matters, even if they can't acknowledge it. They need permission to not be okay. Gemini performs strength constantly. Give them space to be weak without judgment. They need intellectual stimulation, not emotional pressure. Send them something interesting to read, watch, or think about. Feed their mind, not their pain. They need to know you're not going anywhere. Gemini expects abandonment. When they're dark, they test whether you'll leave. Stay, quietly, consistently. They need proof that life isn't meaningless. Show them beauty, novelty, possibility. Remind their brain that there's still something worth engaging with. They need to feel understood, not fixed. I get that you need space means more than let me help you. Understanding is the help. They need time. You can't rush Gemini out of darkness. They'll emerge when their mind finds the pattern again, when meaning returns, when curiosity reignites. All you can do is hold space and trust that the light will come back. Before we end, let's distinguish between Gemini's normal patterns and actual warning signs. Normal Gemini needs alone time regularly, processes emotions intellectually, goes quiet for a few days, then returns, can explain eventually what they were thinking. Warning signs. Weeks of total silence with no explanation. Complete emotional flatness, not just detachment. Reckless behavior that's out of character. Talk of hopelessness, worthlessness, or ending things. Self-harm or substance abuse patterns. Losing interest in everything, including things they used to love. Know the difference. Respect Gemini's need for space, but don't ignore a genuine crisis. Surviving a Gemini's darkest moments isn't about saving them. It's about understanding them. Understanding that their silence isn't rejection, that their distance isn't cruelty, that their darkness isn't permanent. Gemini doesn't go dark because they're weak. They go dark because their mind is too strong, processing too much, feeling too deeply, seeing too clearly. And when that system overloads, it needs to shut down to reboot. Your job isn't to pull them out of the darkness. It's to be a light they can follow back when they're ready. Don't take it personally. Don't demand their energy. Don't abandon them in the void. Just stay, quietly, consistently. Because when Gemini comes back from the darkness, and they'll remember who stayed. And that's the person they'll trust with their light. The darkness is temporary. Your presence matters. Let this be your reminder. Subscribe for ongoing support and insights on your journey.